Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video we got another interesting video talking about some signings from the past couple of days and some possible offer sheet options. We'll look at all the options coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the N10 Hockey channel. Before we get into this video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe down below. Thank you for all of your support. We're never able to without you guys, so if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. And don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so you can also listen to this video. Now before we get to all the offer sheet possibilities, we'll quickly go over first the signings from our past couple of days. We've had a lot of interesting signings from our past few days, so we'll start here. We talked about this in our last video, but the Colorado Avalanche acquired Kevin Mandolese from the Ottawa Senators. He was an RFA. He has indeed signed an extension. He gets a one-year deal with AAV of league minimum. That's a pretty good deal for the Avalanche. With Prosvetov now gone, they need a new third stringer in their system behind Kailyev and Kailyev. And I think Mandolese could be that guy. So that's a pretty good sign there for the Avalanche to get Mandolese on a one-year league minimum deal. Then you have the New York Islanders signing Simon Holmstrom. Holmstrom gets a one-year deal with an AAV of $850,000. Really worked out quite well this year for the Islanders. Was one of the better goal scorers on that team. And I think still has the potentiality there to work up to being a solid top six scoring forward there for the Islanders. So that's a pretty good pickup there for the Islanders to sign RFA Holmstrom to another one-year deal. Then the Boston Bruins signed RFA forward Mark McLaughin. McLaughin, who has been mostly an NHL player, has gotten some NHL opportunities, signed a one-year league minimum deal. Not too surprised there. McLaughin is a pretty good player. I think eventually has a future as like a solid third or fourth line forward. So once again, pretty good solid sign there for the Bruins. And then we saw the Carolina Hurricanes extend Jack Drury. Drury was one of the guys who filed for salary arbitration. He gets a two-year deal with AAV of $1.725 million. Been a really good fourth line center over the past couple of years for the Hurricanes. I think has the potential to be a solid third, at least, maybe even second line center. So pretty good solid sign there for the Hurricanes to get Drury locked up, and that's a pretty good deal there for Carolina. So we do still have a couple of arbitration cases left. I'm not exactly sure when they are scheduled to start, but I think we only have like 8 or 9 arbitration cases left after we started with 14. So interesting stuff there for the arbitration cases, but Drury's now signed. So interesting signs for the past couple of days is McLaughin signs a league minimum deal. Holmstrom signs a one-year deal. Mandolese, who's newly acquired from the Colorado Avalanche, gets a one-year league minimum deal. And then Drury, who was an RFA arbitration case, gets an extension. So interesting signings from our past couple of days. And lastly, going over to the offer sheet. There hasn't been too many rumors over the past little while, so I'm looking at some possible offer sheet candidates. So just quickly here, looking at the offer sheet compensation first. Remember, if the player gets offer sheeted, then the compensation has to go back to the other team. So if a player signed for under $1.51 million, then there's no compensation that goes back to the other team. If there's an offer sheet for a player that's between $1.51 and $2.29 million, the compensation is only a third round pick. If it's between $2.29 and $4.58 million, it's only a second round pick. If it's between $4.58 and $6.87 million, it's a first and a third round pick. If it's between $6.87 and $9.16 million, it's a first, a second, and a third round pick. If it's between $9.16 and $11.45 million, it's 2 firsts, a second, and a third round pick. And if it's above $11.45 million for signing an offer sheet, it's 4 first round picks. So interesting stuff there for those teams. And remember, all those picks have to be their own picks. It can't be like, let's say Utah has a Ottawa third round pick in this upcoming year's draft and they don't have their third round pick. Well, they can't give a third round pick to whichever team they're offer sheeting a player from because it's not theirs. It's originally belonged to someone else. So interesting stuff there, but that's the offer sheet compensation. Going over to a couple of RFAs here, the RFAs who have not filed for arbitration and are still RFAs. I think all of these guys, if I'm correct, are offer sheet eligible. I might be wrong about that, but just bear with me here. So you have Lucas Raymond, who had 72 points last year, Thess Jarvis, who had 67 points with Carolina, Harley, who had 47 points in Dallas, Sider, who had 42 points in Detroit, Perfetti, who had 38 points in Winnipeg, Beniers, who had 37 points in Seattle, Mercer, who had 33 points in New Jersey, Sillinger, who had 32 points in Columbus, Robertson, who had 27 points in Toronto, Spence with 24 points in LA, Tomasino, who had 20 points in Nashville, Krebs, who had 17 points in Buffalo, Johnston, who had 16 points in Columbus, Kailyev, who had 15 points in LA, Baron, who had 13 points in Montreal, Parsonen, who had 12 points in Nashville, 11 points for both Borlo and Thrun in San Jose, 10 points for Xhekaj in Montreal, 9 points for Holloway in Edmonton, 9 points for Kailyev in Calgary, 3 points for Pelche in Calgary, Crevier had 3 points for Chicago, Broberg had 2 points for Edmonton, Alexandrov and Hataka both also had 2 points in New Jersey and St. Louis, and then Dawes at New Jersey, Wolf in Calgary, and Swayman in Boston Boston are all goaltenders. So in my opinion, looking at all these guys here who could potentially be offer sheeted, if you look at Calgary has a lot of cap space, so they're not getting anyone offer sheeted. Wolf, Kailyev, Pelche, none of those guys are getting offer sheeted. Montreal's guys, then Baron and Jacques are not getting offer sheeted. St. Louis's Alexandra is not getting offer sheeted. And here's just a hunch of who I think don't get offer sheeted either. I think it's very unlikely Crevier in Chicago gets offer sheeted. Parson in Nashville gets offer sheeted. Thorner, Bordelot in San Jose get offer sheeted. I think it's really unlikely Tomasino does, but we'll get to that in a second. I think it's also unlikely Peyton Krebs in Buffalo gets offer sheeted. I think it's unlikely Sillinger in Columbus gets offer sheeted, or Johnson in Columbus. Unlikely that Raymond or Sider in Detroit get offer sheeted. Unlikely that Jarvis gets offer sheeted. So those are all the guys who I think really don't get offer sheeted. So some potential offer sheet options I think for these teams still here. One would have to be Thomas Harley. The Stars I think would match anything, but if there's a team out there who can pay him like say 4 or 5 years at like $4.57 million and give him just under what it needs to be for just a second round pick, I think there will be a lot of teams who are willing to do that. But the Stars do have $6.54 million in cap space, so I think unless you'd have to go over $6 million, the Stars would probably be willing to match any sort of offer sheet like that. So that's a possibility as a potential offer sheet candidate. You have Dylan Holloway in Edmonton. He's a little bit less likely, but if there's a team out there who can pay him like $3 to $4 million in like a 3 to 4 year deal, I think the Oilers will be hard pressed to be able to match something like that. And I think a 3 to 4 year deal would only cost like a second round pick, so that would be a pretty good move for a team if they were able to get something like that. I think Mercer's a likely option to go offer sheet if there's a team out there who needs some scoring help, who could go after a guy like Mercer for like a 4 to 5 year deal with AV of like $5 million. I think there is a very likely chance Mercer could be a guy who gets offer sheeted. Teams who do have over $5 million who would really benefit from adding a guy like that would be something like the Winnipeg Jets. The Chicago Blackhawks definitely benefit from something like that. The St. Louis Blues, the Boston Bruins to some extent. The Canadians could definitely maybe try and offer sheet Mercer. Utah could definitely try and do something like that. Maybe Buffalo. We talked about how Buffalo could definitely use some more forward help. San Jose, Calgary. So there's a couple of teams out there who could have the space to offer sheet a guy like Mercer. You have Cole Perfetti. I think he's a possibility. I know the Jets do have a lot of cap space, but they'd be willing to sign a match an offer sheet for like 1 times 5.5 for Perfetti, even though it's going to take a first and a third round pick. I'm not sure if any teams will really do that, but if there's a little bit of an overpayment, would the Jets match, or would Perfetti be able to go to a different team? I think Perfetti is definitely an option here. Broberg's for sure an option. We talked about this in a couple of recent videos. 6 years at $4.5 million is what Frank Seravalli put out. There's a possible offer sheet number. It would keep him under, so it would only be a second round pick they would have to give up for teams offer sheeting him, and teams who need another solid young blue liner could definitely look to try and add that. Like, I would not be surprised if a Utah team could have some interest in doing that. San Jose, who really needs some more young defense. Calgary, who could really use another young blue liner. Probably Columbus, who's trying to rework their blue line. So there's teams out there who could do that sort of a thing. St. Louis, who just lost Torrey Crew for probably the year. So those could be some interesting teams there. Tomasino, I think, is a possibility just given the tight cap situation that the Preds are now in. If the team out there would offer sheet him for like $1.5 million, he would have to count against the cap. The Preds don't really have that sort of a space, so would they really be willing to match? And he wouldn't have to give up any compensation. So I think there's a possibility Tomasino could be a guy who gets offer sheeted. Kailyev in LA's got to be another one too. The Kings don't want him anymore. If they were to offer sheet for somewhere between like $1.5 and $2.5 million and only give up like either no compensation or a third round pick to try and get Kailyev, I think the Kings would be willing to do that. I think there'll be a couple of teams out there who will be willing to do that, like $2.15 million, only be a third round pick, and they wouldn't have to give up much, and they would be getting a really good solid top 9 forward. So I could see Kailyev be a guy who ends up getting offer sheeted. And then lastly here would be Nick Robertson. Robertson's had a pretty good season this year. At least they're also in a tight cap situation, so if a team were to offer him like $2.5 million and give up a third or second round pick to the Leafs in order to get Robertson, I think there would be some teams out there who would be willing to do that. And I'm not sure if a team like the Leafs will be willing to match it. I think a team like Dallas could be of interest. Chicago, St. Louis could use some forward help. Utah could use some forward help. Buffalo, Calgary could definitely use some more forward help. Anaheim could. So that's my opinion on the offer sheets. There's no other really legit offer sheet candidates. I mean, Swayman's a possibility, but I highly doubt anyone's going to pay him like the $8 to $9 million he would be willing to take in order to do some sort of an offer sheet. So it'll be interesting to see. But guys like Nick Robertson in Toronto, Arthur Kailyev in LA, potentially Philip Tomasino in Nashville, Philip Broberg in Edmonton, Cole Perfetti in Winnipeg, Dawson Mercer in New Jersey, Dylan Holloway in Edmonton, and Thomas Harley in Dallas are probably the most likely, in my opinion, options for potential offer sheets this offseason. offseason. So we're going to have to wait and see. Very unlikely that offer sheets happen. We usually rarely see it, but there are a couple of guys with some teams in tight cap situations who I think could really benefit from adding a guy on the offer sheet market. So we're going to have to wait and see if there is any offer sheets this offseason. But that's what I'm going to talk about for today. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all of this down in the comment section below. What do you think about all of this? Could we see an offer sheet? And if so, are any of the guys I mentioned very likely candidates? And if not, who else do you think is a possible offer sheet candidate? And what do you think about all the signings we've seen over the past couple of days? Definitely let me know your guys' thoughts on all that down in the comment section below. So I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video. If you liked it, remember to subscribe down below. Thank you for your support. We're able to love you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so you can also listen to today's video. Also a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So if you check that out, the link's in the description below. And I can't see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.